Hey everyone, it's George from Blockchain DXB and today's the 23rd of September 2024. Now the prices of Bitcoin in the global cryptocurrency market, guys, is definitely looking good, and the answer to that is pretty simple. At the FOMC meeting, Federal Chair Jerome Powell did actually go out and decide to reduce the interest rate, isn't it? Now what I'd really recommend you to do is, guys, on the 19th of this month I went ahead and released an episode where I did actually talk about the prices of Bitcoin in the global cryptocurrency market to be pumping up, but I also said, guys, that this particular week and the week following this, there is a very high possibility that the prices of Bitcoin and the global cryptocurrency market might actually go down. And to be honest, guys, that is what I really worry. And the answer to that is pretty simple. Just 2 weeks before that, guys, the economic data was out. And based on the economic data, it looks like the United States of America is kind of like the best among the worst countries. And if you look at the world economic conditions, guys, it is definitely not looking good. And there is US elections coming up as well, isn't it? And later on, guys, I'll go ahead and discuss a really interesting report which is published by VanEck that talks about the impact of Federal Reserve Board as well as US elections on the price of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. And some of the notorious mainstream media, guys, they're actually misleading the voters. What they're actually stating is that if Kamala Harris turns out to be the president, it would reflect positively in the price of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Now, the reason why that thing would happen, guys, is kind of comical, because what they are saying is that the economic conditions will go bad, and because of that, people will be venturing for Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. But so far as this report is concerned, it also touches base on similar points, but what they have also said, if President Donald Trump gets re-elected, there will be less regulations for Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, and that would potentially drive up the price of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies as well. So in today's episode, guys, I'll go ahead and give out in-depth information regarding a report which is published by VanEck that talks about the impact of Federal Reserve Board and US elections. Now look, guys, last week, there was Bitcoin ETF options that was released as well, and the United Securities and Exchange Commission, they went in and approved trading for BlackRock Spot Bitcoin ETF, and this was done on Nasdaq. So I'll go ahead and give out more information regarding this. Now unfortunately, guys, looks like Germany are not fans of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, and roughly around 2 months ago, they were dumping a lot of the Bitcoins as well as in it, and the news unfortunately today is that they have seized 47 cryptocurrency exchanges, and I'll go ahead and discuss why they have gone ahead and done that. So definitely unfortunate news, but looks like all of these cryptocurrency exchanges were actually being used for illicit activities. So I'll go ahead and share more information regarding this. Now the final news, guys, has to do with Consensus, and the news essentially is that Consensus lawsuit against SEC has been dismissed by a court, and I'll go ahead and give out some background as to why that thing has happened. Because what did happen roughly around 3 months ago, the Security and Exchange Commission, they did issue a Wells notice to Consensus, and this was more connected to MetaMask, isn't it? And at that point of time, guys, Consensus did actually file a lawsuit against SEC, but it looks like the case has been dismissed. So I'll definitely go ahead and give out more information regarding this. So look, guys, in the cryptocurrency world, it is packed with a lot of drama and chaos, isn't it? So we'll definitely go ahead and share all the information in today's episode. And like we do in every Crypto and Coffee at 8 podcast, we will be looking at 2 news from Dubai, UAE and the Middle East. Now both the news, guys, are to do with events that I'm conducting in the month of October. And the first one is a massive one, and this is regarding stable coins, and the event is called as Stable Coins, its history, the basics, the collapse of stable coins, and how stable coins are hedged against cryptocurrencies and fiat currency. So what I'll do, guys, in today's episode, I'll go ahead and give out information as to what is it that you can expect, and the registration for this event is completely free of cost. And look, guys, if you want to go ahead and sponsor this session, drop me an email to info@blockchaindxb.com. And the second news, guys, is also to do with an event that I'm conducting in October. Now, this is more to do with podcasting, and the event is called as How to Go Ahead and Start Your Podcast. Now, look, guys, if you want to go ahead and start your podcast, you definitely need to go ahead and register for this event. And if you're someone in Dubai, UAE, or the Middle East who's working in the podcasting field and wants to collaborate or wants to go ahead and sponsor any of this session, drop me an email to info@blockchaindxb.com. So quite a lot to cover, guys, in today's episode. Let's kickstart with it right away. Thank you to our sponsors for being part of the Blockchain DXB journey. Firstly, Advanced Media. Advanced Media, guys, is the largest distributor of professional video, photo, broadcast and cinematic equipment and accessories in the Middle East and MENA region. With over 2 decades of experience, Advanced Media is now the largest distributor in the Middle East, representing more than 100 recognizable brands, including brands such as Zeiss, DJI, Hasselblad, Red and Rode. As a matter of fact, guys, the very mic that I'm recording is being sponsored by Advanced Media as well, And Advanced Media has showrooms in Saudi Arabia and services as well. Looks like they're definitely taking the Middle East by storm. And here's the beautiful thing, guys. They're taking corporate social responsibility very seriously. And they're focusing on 3 P's. That is people, planet, and prosperity. Now listen, guys, if you do want to find out more information regarding the statement of corporate social responsibility, check out the website, that is www.amt.tv. And here's the beautiful thing, guys. They also want to be a leader and set an example and reputation as a pioneer and member of the community. And in doing so, guys, they also have an AMT scholarship with SAE Institute in Dubai, UAE. So definitely check it out. And also, guys, Advanced Media is committed to persistently developing, organizing, and hosting training workshops, seminars, and community events that educate, inform, and familiarize consumers with new equipment and the latest technological advances. So listen, guys, do one thing. If you do want to support this channel, go to the website, that is www.amt.tv, and follow the social media channels as well. All of the details are in the show notes below. Next, Startup OI is global one-tech platform for tech. It offers global high-paying tech jobs with flexibility in working time and location, global free tech events, and tech networks to connect with global like-minded engineers. A brilliant platform to listen to the tech experts in Metaverse and to grab their insights. Now listen, all you have to do is download the app Startup OI. If you're using an Android version, go to Google Store and App Store for iOS devices. Alternatively, you can also click on the show notes below to download Startup OI. Next, guys, listen, if you're into fitness, if you're into adventure, if you want to do something wild but still want to keep your health in check, there is a new podcast in town, a podcast focusing on obstacle course race in the Middle East. The podcast is called the Race Pace Podcast. So check out the Race Pace Podcast across all leading platforms. And the Race Pace Podcast is a peer-to-peer community-driven podcast where they talk all about obstacle course race in the Middle East, from Sandstorm to Spartan Race, from Tough Mudder to Desert Warrior Challenge, and also the Government Gov Games, and quite a lot more. The podcast has interviews with athletes locally and internationally to get inside scoop on how athletes prepare for obstacle course race. In the podcast, they also talk about interesting stories on why they are motivated to do obstacle course race. And that's not all. They also plan to release 7 NFTs. And these NFTs are no ordinary. These NFTs will represent every emirate in the UAE. And listen, guys, these NFTs are going to be absolutely massive. So do one thing. Go to Spotify, go to iTunes, go to any leading podcasting platform and search for Rise in the Obstacle Course Race podcast. And finally, guys, not your keys, not your crypto. If you have dabbled with cryptocurrencies and now are seriously getting to protect your cryptocurrencies, there is no better way to protect it by using a hardware wallet. And this is where Ledger Wallet kicks in. And Ledger Wallets are hardware cryptocurrency wallets made by Ledger, a company headquartered in Paris, France. And Ledger's hardware wallets are multi-currency wallets that are used to store private keys for cryptocurrencies offline. And Ledger offers 2 hardware wallets, the Ledger Nano and Ledger Nano X wallets. They are world-class experts with extensive crypto security backgrounds. They continuously look for vulnerabilities in Ledger products in a constant effort to improve the level of security. Now, in today's world, securing these digital assets is a critical challenge, and this is where Ledger kicks in. So click the link below to buy your hardware wallet and support this podcast. It is a brilliant way to support this podcast. So what are you waiting for? The link is in the show notes below. Now, guys, since we've taken care of that, let's kickstart by looking at the global cryptocurrency market. Now, if you look at the global cryptocurrency market, guys, today it is at a staggering $2.19 trillion. Just a few weeks ago, guys, the global cryptocurrency market was almost on the verge of going below the $1.5 trillion mark, isn't it? Right now, it is at $2.19 trillion. But since the last 24 hours, guys, it is marginally down by 0.72%. Now, look, guys, you need to understand that I'm reading out these numbers in the early hours of Dubai, and it is still technically Sunday in most of the Western countries, and I'm pretty much sure by the time you're listening to the episode, these numbers will drastically change. Now, so far as the total cryptocurrency market volume is concerned, guys, it is at $46.71 billion, but since the last 24 hours, it is down by 8.83%. Now, let me look at the volume of decentralized finance, guys, because look, I've said this thing almost for 2 years now. No matter what is happening in the Bitcoin cryptocurrency, even at a macro level, the volume in DeFi is absolutely ridiculous, guys. And today it is only at $3.05 billion. But look, guys, I have to warn you, there is a very high possibility that these numbers may not be accurate because for some odd reason, DeFi Llama is not taking information regarding Uniswap, and Uniswap accounts for a majority of the chunk, isn't it? So really I'm not sure what is going on. And since this year, guys, DeFiLlama.com has been facing quite a lot of technical issues, to be honest. In the past, they have definitely updated incorrect information as well. So it's so critical, guys, that whenever you're looking at information, don't take it at face value. Question if you see any anomaly, and I definitely feel that today's numbers are definitely some really strong anomaly. Now that thing being said, the volume in DeFi is still ridiculously low, guys. It is only at $3.05 billion, and DeFi as of today is accounting for 6.52% of the total crypto market 24-hour volume. Now if you look at the total value locked, guys, this I definitely don't think is an anomaly, and the total value locked is only at $85.96 billion, with Lido's dominance at $25.10 billion. Now look, as one matrix which I definitely keep an eye on, that is decentralized to centralized exchange dominance. Now because it is not taking Uniswap's volume, guys, the number is showing only at 8.33%. I'm pretty much sure if you got an add Uniswap's volume, it would be somewhere between the 12 to 15% mark. It is still a ridiculously low volume, isn't it? Now what I want to do is, I want to run through the top 5 decentralized exchanges, and mind you guys, it's really important to note, it is not taking into consideration Uniswap's volume. It is definitely a technical error on behalf of DeFiLlama.com, isn't it? And today, guys, it is showing PancakeSwap as number 1, and its volume is $625 million. Now look, guys, if you were to add, let's say, Uniswap's $1.5 billion, the numbers are definitely good, but it is definitely not great, isn't it? Considering the fact that the prices of Bitcoin and the global cryptocurrency market has been pumping up, unfortunately, guys, decentralized exchanges volume is not looking good at all. Now the number second is Raydium, and its 24-hour volume is $228.79 million. Orca, guys, is at number third. Its volume is $184.54 million. Core Finance is at number 4th. Its volume is $82.57 million. And Thorchain, guys, is at number 5th. Its volume is $59.18 million. Now, if you look at the volume of stable coins, because it is a Sunday in Western countries, guys, these numbers are ridiculously less. But this begs this question: cryptocurrency in the blockchain world should be working 24/7. 365 days, isn't it? And keeping that thing in mind, the volume of stablecoins is definitely not that great, guys, to be honest. It is only at $41.30 billion, and stablecoins as of today is accounting for 88.42% of the total crypto market 24-hour volume. And if you look at the volume of stablecoins, guys, Tether USDT is leading the pack with $35.51 million. Circle USDC is at number 2nd. Its volume is $2.77 billion, and FDUSD is at number 3rd. Its volume is $2.75 billion. Now look, guys, I have this very strong feeling that these numbers will drastically go down on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Now look, the FOMC meeting definitely sounded great, but if you were to compare it with the economic factors that was actually released 2 weeks ago, the numbers are definitely dreadful, to be honest. So let's see, guys, if the traditional market reacts in a positive way this particular week in the following week, or are we heading towards a downturn with US elections coming up? Either way, guys, what I'd really recommend you to do is keep a track of what is going on so far as the volume of stablecoins is concerned. Now, I'd really like to see this number around the $80 to $120 billion mark. That way I would have been more confident that the prices of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies would be pumping up. Now, if you look at the 24-hour trading volume of Bitcoin, guys, it is only at $15.54 billion. And so far as Ethereum is concerned, its volume is only $11.49 billion. Now, Bitcoin's dominance, guys, is at 56.59%. Now, Ethereum's dominance is marginally pumped up, and to date is at 14.10%. Now, if you look at the market cap, guys, Ethereum's market cap has pumped up the most, and it has crossed the $300 billion mark. It is at $309 billion, whereas Bitcoin's market cap hasn't pumped up a lot, but it is at a staggering $1.22 trillion. Now, look, guys, last week what I was doing is, I was looking at the matrix for decentralized apps, isn't it? And what you can do is, guys, go to dappradar.com and you can look at these numbers yourself as well. Now, what I want to do is, I want to go ahead and read out the top 5 decentralized apps that are working only on Solana blockchain. Now, mind you guys, it's really important to note that the only matrix I'm looking at is the fiat value of incoming token transfers from unique active wallets to decentralized app smart contract over a period of time. This number is purely in terms of dollar amount, and if you actually look at the wallet interaction, guys, there are different decentralized apps that are being used quite a lot. Now, me personally, guys, I do feel that we need to be looking at the wallet interactions, because that would give us an idea as to how many people are using the decentralized app, isn't it? So what I'll do is, guys, I'll look at the dollar value and then I'll compare it with wallet interactions, so you guys get an idea as to how many people are using the decentralized app smart contract rather than money just flowing in and out, because there is a very high possibility, guys. A lot of centralized exchanges are using the decentralized apps, isn't it? And with notorious actors in the cryptocurrency and blockchain world, could it be possible that some of them are just trying to manipulate the market? That is definitely a very high possibility, isn't it? Now, so far as the top 5 decentralized app on Solana blockchain is concerned, guys, Jito is number 1. And in terms of dollar value, it is $48.66 million. Now, this number, guys, is the fiat value of incoming token transfers from unique active wallets interacting or performing transaction with decentralized app, that is Jito, since the last 24 hours. But if you look at the wallet interactions, guys, it is at 1,240. Now what this means, guys, is there might be 1,240 smart contracts, and in these smart contracts there might be hundreds if not thousands of people using it. Now the second one, guys, is Marinade Finance. In terms of dollar amount, it is $40.27 million. In terms of wallet interactions, it is 446, and in dapradar.com, guys, it actually tells you the definition of what UAW is. Essentially, guys, it is a number of unique active wallets interacting or performing transactions with decentralized app smart contract over a period of time, and over a period of time most likely is 24 hours, isn't it? Now the third one, guys, has definitely been making quite a lot of news in the social media realm, and that is Pump.Fun. In terms of dollar amount, guys, that is $14.38 million. In terms of wallet interactions, check this out, guys, it is at 33,460. So look, guys, it could be possible that there are a lot of social media platforms that are currently utilizing or implementing Pump.Fun, isn't it? That is what the number states. Now the fifth one, guys, is a bit strange one as well, and that is Jupiter Exchange. And in terms of dollar amount, it is $9.92 million. But if you look at the wallet interactions, guys, it is showing 222,660. So it looks like Jupiter Exchange is used quite a lot, isn't it? Now what I'd really recommend you to do is, guys, if you actually go to dapradar.com and just look at the wallet interactions, surprisingly, Raydium by Solana is at number 1. And it is number 1 not just across Solana blockchain, guys. It is number 1 across all decentralized apps. And the wallet interaction is 1.73 million. It could be possible, guys, because it is a decentralized exchange. Every time someone is, let's say, putting a trade, buying or selling it, or withdrawing for a trade, that counts as a wallet interactions, isn't it? Because if you look at it in terms of dollar amount, guys, the dollar amount is only $32,360. Now look, guys, this definitely seems like a massive anomaly. So the wallet interactions in terms of dollar amount is only showing 32,360, but in terms of wallet interactions, it is 1.73 million. Now look, guys, the only way this thing is possible is, let's say, if it is connected to a social media platform, something, let's say, similar to Instagram or Twitter, where there is a lot of interactions, but in terms of the token interactions, the volume is ridiculously low. Now, if you do know any social media platform or gaming platform using Raydium, guys, definitely let me know, because this number definitely seems like a massive red flag in my opinion. And knowing the notorious history of Solana, guys, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some heavy manipulation going on as well. The numbers are absolutely strange, to be honest. Now, guys, let's look at the king of all kings, that is Bitcoin. Now, the price of Bitcoin, guys, is at a staggering $62,635. Now, since the last 24 hours, though, and because this is on the early hours of Dubai, and technically it is still Sunday in most of the Western countries, it is marginally down by 0.78%. But since the last 7 days, guys, it is up by 4.18%. Ethereum is at a staggering $2,565. And since the last 24 hours, it is up by 0.18%, but since the last 7 days, it is up by 6.94%, and Binance BNB Coin, guys, is at $579, and since the last 24 hours, it is down by 0.71%, and since the last 7 days, it is up by 3.59%. Now look, guys, before the FOMC meeting, if you look at the Fear and Greed Index, it was at fear, isn't it? But right now on the 23rd of September, guys, the market looks at neutral, and the number associated with that is 51. But look, guys, I wouldn't be surprised on Tuesday or Wednesday if you do see a marginal dump in the price of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And what happened, guys, on the 20th of September, just few days after a FOMC meeting where Jerome Powell decided to reduce the interest rate, the US Security and Exchange Commission also approved options trading for BlackRock Spot Bitcoin ETF, and this was on Nasdaq. and this, guys, marks a significant step towards institutional acceptance of Bitcoin as an ed, and the iShares Bitcoin Trust, the ticker symbol of what is IBIT, will be traded under the IBIT ticker. And what's really important to note, guys, that this will be settled physically with an American-style exercise. Now, if you do need the official link, guys, the link to that is in the show notes below. Now, the big question is, because a Bitcoin ETF options was released, will it be possible for an Ethereum ETF options to be approved next? Only time will tell, I guess, isn't it? Now, what I want to do next, guys, is I want to go ahead and discuss a really interesting report which is published by VanEck, and in that report, guys, there is a section that talks about the impact of Federal Reserve Board and US elections on the price of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Now look, guys, left-leaning mainstream media are trying to manipulate the audience, and if you actually read through the headline, guys, it actually states that if Kamala Harris wins, the prices of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies will be pumping up. Now if you actually read through the original report, guys, the reasoning behind that is absolutely scary, and at the outlook, guys, it actually states if Kamala Harris gets elected as president, she's definitely going to focus on traditional finance, and Gary Gensler will still be in office, and because of that, we might be facing an economic collapse, and this is what mainstream media is not talking about, guys. If you actually read through the VanEck's article, it actually states that there might be panic set in the world, and because of that, Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies could potentially turn out to be a safe haven, and because of that, the prices of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies will be pumping up. And the report also states, guys, that President Trump being elected will be good for Bitcoin, but the reasoning behind that is completely different. The report actually talks about less regulations, the overall market sentiment to be improving, and people will be looking at Bitcoin as an alternative asset. Now, what I'd really recommend you to do is, guys, rather than listening to mainstream media, go ahead and read through the report which is published by VanEck. Now what I'll do is, guys, I'll go ahead and share more bits and pieces of information regarding this report, because the report by VanEck does give reason as to why Kamala Harris and President Donald Trump could be good for the price of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Now, as I mentioned earlier, guys, what that report states is that Kamala's reign could cause economic collapse, and they've used this word called as endemic, and that could be the end of fiat currencies, and this could actually lead to Bitcoin as a hedge against inflation. And so far as Trump's second term is concerned, they're saying that this could also bring economic prosperity, as Trump would reduce regulations on Bitcoin. And as per the report, guys, the report clearly states that Trump's presidency is generally bullish for the entire cryptocurrency system, as it would likely produce more deregulations and business-friendly policies, particularly for cryptocurrency entrepreneurs. Now look, guys, whether we like it or not, this US elections is definitely going to have a massive impact on the price of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, isn't it? And the 2024 election, guys, is shaping up to be a pivotal moment for Bitcoin and the broader cryptocurrency market, and both presidential candidates, that is Kamala and President Donald Trump, are considered to have policies that would directly or indirectly impact the price of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Now what I want to do is, guys, I want to go ahead and share why Kamala Harris' presidency would be good for the price of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And as per the report, guys, the report actually states a Kamala Harris administration could significantly influence the future of Bitcoin, but this would be through stricter regulations on the digital asset market, especially under the continued leadership of SEC Chair Gary Gensler. Now, Gary Gensler, guys, as we know, has been known for his tough stance on cryptocurrency, isn't it? And he's advocating for more stringent control and increased scrutiny of the space. And should Kamala Harris align with progressive figures like Elizabeth Warren, who has been openly critical of the cryptocurrency industry, we could actually see a regulatory crackdown, and this would likely slow down institutional adoption of digital assets beyond Bitcoin, making it extremely harder for crypto businesses to operate in the US and dampening entrepreneurial activity within the space. And other cryptocurrencies along with Bitcoin could also face stricter classification as securities, raising compliance costs and limiting the utility in the US market. However, guys, for Bitcoin specifically, what the report states, the situation is more nuanced, and the structural issue with driving Bitcoin's popularity, such as rising fiscal deficits, increasing inflation, and concerns over the stability of the US dollar, might actually intensify under Harris' presidency. So what they're actually stating, guys, is, let's say if Kamala Harris gets elected, there might be economic collapse, and because of that, people might think that Bitcoin is a hedge against inflation. Now this is what the report states, but mainstream media are missing out these points, guys, and they want to notoriously try to convince users to go ahead and vote for the extreme left-leaning regime, isn't it? Now this particular report by VanEck also states, with continued or even expanded fiscal spending, further quantitative easing could be required to manage the US economy. This in turn could lead to more inflationary pressures, which are bullish for Bitcoin as hedge against fiat currency for devaluation. Now look, guys, in theory, Bitcoin thrives in environments where confidence in traditional market system weakens, isn't it? Unfortunately, guys, in the real world, Bitcoin does not work that way. And the classic example we can think of is what happened on the 18th of September, isn't it? Because Federal Chair Jerome Powell reduced the interest rate, that should be the time the prices of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency should actually be collapsing, because Jerome Powell reducing the interest rate would actually mean that the fiat world is doing good, the traditional finance is doing good. So why should I go out and buy Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies? Hopefully, guys, in the next couple of decades, we might be at a time where, let's say, if the interest rate are reduced, the prices of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies will be going down. Conversely, if the interest rate is increased, Bitcoin will turn out to be a safe haven. We are not there yet, but unfortunately, this is what the report is saying. But look, as this report clearly states that Kamala Harris's policies could indirectly push more investors into Bitcoin, as a regular fiat economy will not be doing good. Now, regarding President Donald Trump, guys, what this report states, a Trump presidency would likely offer a more favorable landscape for the entire cryptocurrency industry, not just Bitcoin. Now, the report says that Trump is expected to pursue more business-friendly and deregulatory policies, which would reduce the regulatory pressures currently faced by the cryptocurrency space, isn't it? And the report clearly states, guys, under President Donald Trump, there would likely be fewer restrictions on digital assets, making US a more appealing environment for crypto entrepreneurs and investors, and this could lead a surge in innovation, investment and adoption across the broader ecosystem, and not just Bitcoin alone. Now, deregulations, guys, would actually encourage greater institutional involvement in digital assets, and more favorable tax or business conditions could make US a hub for crypto businesses, which have been strongly scrutinized since the past 4 years, isn't it? Now, for Bitcoin specifically, guys, a Trump presidency would mean a more supportive regulatory environment that encourages further integration of Bitcoin into financial systems, and the report also talks about crypto-friendly policies, coupled with a weakening US dollar due to rising deficits, would likely push Bitcoin to new heights, and the currency's appeal as a store of value, guys, would grow as the dollar weakens, while deregulation would help the way for wider, smoother adoption. Now look, so far as Bitcoin is concerned, Bitcoin should be apolitical, isn't it? Now I very strongly feel, guys, regardless of who wins the election, Bitcoin is uniquely positioned to benefit from the macroeconomic conditions that both candidates are likely to foster, and younger generations are already showing strong support for Bitcoin, viewing it as an alternative to traditional financial systems that have been weakened by excessive money printing and rising national debt, and they often call this world as baby boomers, isn't it? And as baby boomer wealth is passed down to younger investors, guys, Bitcoin's adoption may accelerate, reinforcing its role as a digital store of value. Now look, guys, I would really like to see Bitcoin to be completely apolitical, and that would actually mean Satoshi Nakamoto's vision of separation of the money and the state has been successful, isn't it? Now look, guys, in the meantime, institutional adoption of Bitcoin through exchange-traded products, as well as options on ETF, as well as investment portfolios, are continuing to grow, and this is driven by the need for decentralized, censorship-resistant network in the world of increasing government control and monetary instability, isn't it? So it's going to be really interesting to see, guys, what happens in the upcoming elections. Now, I do feel, guys, in the long term, Bitcoin's trajectory is likely to remain bullish regardless of the US election outcome, and while Kamala Harris might push investors towards Bitcoin by exacerbating economic and fiscal challenges, Trump, on the other hand, would likely create a more favorable regulatory environment for the entire cryptocurrency ecosystem. Either way, guys, Bitcoin's role as a global reserve and asset and hedge against fiat devaluation seems to poised to grow, and this election will impact the broader cryptocurrency space. But so far as Bitcoin is concerned, with its regulatory clarity and unique properties, it stands to benefit in both scenarios, isn't it? So what I'd really recommend you to do is, guys, if you're reading any mainstream media, guys, try to understand what is it that they are saying. And I keep saying this over and over again, always try to look at information from first source, and in this case, guys, the first source is a report which is published by VanEck, and it is in the show notes below. As a matter of fact, guys, they have published another report as well, and the report is called as Bitcoin's 2050 Valuation Scenarios, and the report is in the show notes below. Now, guys, let's go to discuss some news all the way from Germany, and the Frankfurt and Main Public Prosecutor's Office, that is ZIT, and the Federal Crown Police Office have taken down 47 exchange platforms in Germany that were actually used for legal activities. Now, these platform, guys, allowed users to exchange both conventional currencies and cryptocurrencies. Now, this particular crackdown aims to weaken the infrastructure supporting cyber criminals, making it extremely harder for them to operate. And previous operations have targeted major cybercrime platforms like Chipmaker and Kingdom Market, and malware such as Crockbot and Emotet as well. Now look, guys, if you want to find the official link, the link to that is in the show notes below. Now guys, let's go and touch base on some drama between SEC and Consensus. Now look guys, roughly around 3 months ago, Security and Exchange Commission did actually serve a Wells notice to Consensus, and this was more connected to MetaMask platform that we tend to use on a browser, isn't it? Now what happened is back then, Consensus in retaliation did actually file a lawsuit against Security and Exchange Commission, but a Texas federal judge has dismissed the lawsuit filed by blockchain firm Consensus against Security and Exchange Commission, along with its commissioner including Chair Gary Gensler as well. Now the ruling guys definitely dealt a blow to Consensus' challenge of the regulator over how Ethereum should be classified and whether its MetaMask wallet service is illicit. Now Consensus guys, they definitely claim the Security and Exchange Commission was investing Ethereum and was contemplating bringing it under security regulations, and this was because of the Wells notice that were given to them over swap and staking service of MetaMask. However guys, what happened a few days ago, a judge from Texas, that is Judge O'Connor, rejected these, stating that the enforcement action do not constitute final agency actions. Now the official link to this guys is directly by the judge, and it is in the show notes below. So these were the newscasts from the cryptocurrency blockchain world with a lot of drama involved, isn't it? Now let's look at two news from Dubai, UAE and the Middle East, and both the events guys are conducted by me, and both of them are actually taking place in October. Now the first event guys is to do with stable coins, and the event title is Stable Coins, History, the Basics, Collapse of Stable Coins, and how stable coins are hedged against cryptocurrency and more. Now what I want to do is guys, I want to go ahead and explain what is it that you can expect at this session. Now this session guys is completely free of cost, and the registration to that is in the show notes below, or you can go to eventbrite.com and just check for blockchaindxp.com, or you can also drop me an email guys at info@blockchaindxp.com. Now look guys, if you do want to go ahead and sponsor this session, I would definitely like to talk to you more about it. Now this session guys takes place on the 25th of October, and it takes place between 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Gulf Standard Time. So let me go ahead and explain what is it that you can expect at this session, because this session guys will last for roughly around 1 hour and 40 minutes, and after that we'll have networking, we'll have a bit of chit chat and have a lot of back and answer questions as well. In this session guys, we'll kickstart by discussing the definition of stable coins, their role and the importance in blockchain evolution. Now look guys, in the Crypto and Coffee Date podcast, I often share the number of stable coins, isn't it? Now look guys, whether we like it or not, stable coins is definitely accounting for over 80%, certain cases 90% of the total cryptocurrency market volume as well. Now we'll also go in touch base on the history of stable coins from its inception to present day relevance. We'll very touch base on the current market cap, the 24-hour trading volume that I tend to cover in my Crypto and Coffee Date podcast, and we'll go and touch base on the key players in the space. Now look, since 2023, a lot of new entrants are venturing into stablecoin world, isn't it? Now I'll also go and share guys the different types of stablecoins, because you have fiat collateralized stablecoins that is backed by fiat currencies like US dollar or the euro. And just few months ago guys, Tether USDT, they went ahead and launched a partnership with Phoenix Group, and they want to go ahead and launch a stablecoin that'll be backed by UAE dirhams in it. So we'll definitely go ahead and explore that. I'll go ahead and touch base on crypto collateralized stablecoins. Essentially guys, these are stable coins that are backed by the cryptocurrencies, and one classic example I can think of is DAI by MakerDAO in it. We'll go ahead and touch base on algorithmically backed stablecoin, which by the way is not allowed in UAE for some odd reason, but I'll go ahead and share how algorithmically backed stablecoin works and what is it that it is backed by. We'll also go ahead and discuss the collapse of Terra Luna as well. Now look guys, there are different other types of stablecoins as well. We have commodity collateralized stablecoins that are tied to assets like gold or real estate. We'll touch base on algorithmically backed stablecoins. I'll also go ahead and touch base on privacy-focused stablecoin guys and some of the features and implications for using privacy. Now look guys, in United Arab Emirates, United Arab governments are very stringent so far as privacy of stablecoins is concerned, isn't it? I'll go ahead and share some of the restrictions in place. I'll go ahead and touch base on the key players guys, from Tether USDT, Circle USDC, PayPal USD and quite a lot more. And then we'll go ahead and touch base on UAE regulations and the recent law governing stablecoins used in the United Arab Emirates. Now look guys, United Arab Emirates has also got and launched a payment token service regulation. I would really recommend you guys to go ahead and read it. Maybe ask a lawyer to read it. But in the episode guys, I'll go ahead and give an overview on the impact on stablecoin. Now look guys, I'll also go ahead and discuss how does UAE regulations compare with Europe's MiCA regulations, and so far as regulatory aspects are concerned guys, what kind of role governments can do in order to go ahead and support stablecoin interactions. Now look guys, one of my favorite topic or not so favorite topic is, are stablecoins a hedge against inflation or even against the fluctuation in cryptocurrencies? Because the whole idea of Bitcoin's invention, guys, was for it to be hedged against inflation, isn't it? Unfortunately, guys, I hate saying this, Bitcoin, at least for now, is not turning out to be a safe haven against inflations. Stablecoin has definitely turned out to be a safe haven against inflation, so I'll go ahead and share more information regarding this. We'll also go ahead and touch base on global events that is connected to stablecoins. Particularly, it's not so good news in Venezuela. Now, Tether USDT, guys, they openly said because of the Venezuelan government having sanctions by United States of America, they will go ahead and freeze accounts of Tether USDT in that region. I'll also go ahead and discuss, guys, the role stablecoins did actually play between Russia and Ukraine. Now, more importantly, guys, I'll go ahead and discuss the use case of stablecoin on a day-to-day basis. We'll go ahead and explore the practical applications of USDT in particular and what role do they play in other transactions. Now, look, so far as metaverse is concerned, I'll go ahead and share, can stablecoin be used, or will it be better to go ahead and use cryptocurrency? Now, later on in the session, guys, I'll go ahead and touch base on CBDCs versus stablecoins. We'll go ahead and discuss what are the similarities between central bank digital currency and stablecoins, what are the differences, and could it be possible for both of them to coexist? Now, look, so far as Ripple or XRP is concerned, can they pose a threat to stablecoin? I'll go ahead and make a comparison of functionality and use case. Now, it's really important to note, guys, that Ripple themselves are going ahead and launching a stablecoin as well. Now, look, as all this thing being said, could it be possible for stablecoins to collapse, similar to how we have bank runs? Could it be possible to have a run on Tether USDT? I'll go ahead and discuss some of the potential dangers, including the risk of stablecoins collapsing. Now, look, as me personally, I'm not a fan of stablecoins as such because they don't follow the ethos of open blockchain. And when you talk about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, guys, we talk about decentralization or distributed nature of working, isn't it? But so far, stablecoin issuers are concerned, guys, pretty much all of the governance models and all of the decisions are done by a centralized entity. So I'll make a quick comparison between centralization versus community and where does stablecoin fit in at a macro level. Now, look, guys, artificial intelligence is definitely here, isn't it? I'll go ahead and share my thoughts and opinion on the potential of AI to manage stablecoins in the future. Now, look, guys, Tether USDT's dominance in the cryptocurrency space is absolutely undeniable. I'll go ahead and discuss Tether USDT's market influence across cryptocurrency and the fiat world, and we'll also look at regulatory impact and how global regulations affect stablecoin issuers and positioning as well. Now, all this thing being said, guys, it's really important to understand that stablecoins are definitely playing a pivotal role in the cryptocurrency and blockchain world. Now, this session is completely free of cost, and it does take place on the 25th of October from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Gulf Standard Time. Now, if you do want to go ahead and sponsor the session, guys, drop me an email to info@blockchaindxb.com. Now, guys, let's go ahead and discuss the second event that I'm conducting, and this is on how to start your podcast. Now, mind you, guys, this is not to do with cryptocurrency and blockchain as such, but rather an event focused on just how to go ahead and start your podcast. And this particular session is completely free of cost as well, and it takes place more than a fortnight before the stablecoin event on the 10th of October from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Gulf Standard Time. And in this session, guys, I'll go ahead and discuss some of the basic things on how to go ahead and start your podcast so you can essentially learn how to choose compelling podcast topics that resonate with the audience. I'll go ahead and share tips on selecting a podcast name that's extremely simple and SEO friendly. I'll go ahead and discuss, guys, what should be the ideal length of an episode. Should it be 40 minutes? Should it be less than that? Or should it be longer than that? And then, guys, I'll go ahead and discuss how often should you be releasing your podcast. Should you do it daily? Do you do it weekly? Or do you do it based on events and occasions? Now, look, as me personally in my Crypto and Coffee a Day podcast, I tend to release this session Monday to Thursdays, isn't it? But I do have another podcast called as the Raceways Podcast. In that, guys, I tend to release episodes based on events coming up because that particular podcast is more catered towards obstacle course racing, more towards endurance and running events. So I'll go ahead and share on the frequency on when you should release your episode. I'll also go ahead and discuss one of the most important things to make a decision whether you want to go ahead and release a solo episode or do you want to go ahead and release an interview. Now, this particular episode that you're listening is a solo interview, isn't it? Now, look, guys, according to me, releasing a solo episode is 10 or 20 times tougher than an interview, so I'll go ahead and share my thoughts and opinion on it. Now, when I do interview, guys, I usually tend to send questionnaires in advance, and that becomes easier for me. But it could be possible that you might be one of them who is in a position to go ahead and do the interviews on go. If that is the case, you can go ahead and make that decision as well. And some of my good colleagues, guys, they do interviews on the go. They don't like preparatory work as well. In fact, one of the leading podcasters in the obstacle course race world, he does not prepare questions as such. He just makes some points as to what he wants to go ahead and cover. And when I did actually tell him that I'm going to go ahead and send the interview, he actually replied and told me, what is the fun in that? Let it be spontaneous and on the go. So if you're someone who's comfortable doing that, maybe that is an area worth looking into. Now in this session, guys, that is on how to start a podcast, I'll go ahead and discuss on which platforms you can do your live recording as well. So you have platforms like Podbean, Twitter Spaces, and in UAE you have Angami as well as an Ed. So I'll go ahead and share more information regarding this. I'll also share tips on studio versus home recording, and I'll go ahead and touch base on platforms that you can use. Can you use Zoom? Can you use Riverside.fm? Or can you use Google Meet? Me personally, guys, I'm more comfortable with Google Meet, but it could be possible that you might be more comfortable in Zoom and quite a lot of other. Now, probably the most important thing regarding podcasts, guys, is the quality of your mic, isn't it? So I'll go ahead and discuss some of the different mics that we can use. So should we use Shure microphone, which is kind of like the OG and the king of all kings? Or can we go ahead and use Rode mics? Now me, guys, I'm using Rode mic, but there are other options as well like Samsung. Not only is it ridiculously affordable, but the quality is absolutely brilliant as well. Some of them even compare Samsung with Shure mics as well. And there is also Blue Yeti, guys. If you follow Ivan on tech, he used to use Blue Yeti quite a lot, but look, guys, so far as mics are concerned, you have cardioid microphone and dynamic. So in the episode, I'll go ahead and discuss what is the kind of mics that you should be doing. And guys, I'll also go ahead and touch base on what is the best podcasting platform, because you have Anchor, which is now taken over by Spotify. You have Podbean. You have a platform from Middle East called Podio. So would it be better for you to go ahead and directly upload it on Podio and then connect it to other platforms? I'll go ahead and share more information regarding this. And then, guys, I'll go ahead and touch base on some technical element called as RSS feeds and how you can go ahead and utilize them. And now in the cryptocurrency and blockchain world, guys, there is something called as podcasting 2.0, where you can monetize your content. Now every time a person listens to it, or if you are listening to the episode, you can monetize from that as well. So I'll go ahead and touch base on that, and I'll go ahead and share, guys, how you can amplify your reach by promoting content across various platforms. And I'll also go ahead and touch base, guys, on should you have an audio only platform or a video based platform. Now look, guys, according to me, audio platforming works best, but you do require a video platform, guys, so you can make tiny teeny snippets and post it on Instagram stories or TikTok to get more recognition, isn't it? And use that as a tool to go ahead and get more listeners to follow your channel. So I'll go ahead and share more information regarding this. Now look, as one of the most biggest channels so far as podcasting is concerned, that is editing, isn't it? And editing could be an absolute nightmare. Now me personally, guys, I spend at least 60 to 70% of my time in editing. So I'll go ahead and share a couple of editing tips, including free and paid software options or even outsourcing. And I'll go ahead and share, guys, how you can maximize social media exposure with TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and right now there are different AI tools as well as it. Now what I'll tend to do is, guys, because I like to prepare for my interview sessions, I'll share a couple of live interview questions that I give to my clients, so you guys get an idea as to what questions I do actually ask. You're more than welcome to go ahead and copy the entire format as well. Now look, guys, I very strongly feel in the 80-20% rule, isn't it? 80% of the work should be research. Now look, as overdoing research can also not be good, so I'll go ahead and share what length of research you should do, because you want the interviewee to give out more information, isn't it? So I'll go ahead and give out all this information, guys. We'll also go ahead and unlock sponsorship opportunities, including tips on attracting sponsors. And also, guys, let's say if you get a sponsor, where is it that you should place your ads? Should you place it at the beginning, mid-roll, or towards the end of the episode? So this is a completely fun session, guys. And if you do want to go ahead and start your podcast, sign up for this event, and the registration is completely free of cost. And this event, guys, takes place on the 10th of October at 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Gulf Standard Time. And the registration is completely free of cost. And if you're someone who wants to go ahead and sponsor this session, drop me an email to info@blockchaindxp.com. So those were the news, guys, on the cryptocurrency, blockchain, and artificial intelligence world from Blockchain DXP. In case if you like listening to this podcast, please click on the follow button, give it a 5-star rating, and share the word across. Now for the next few minutes is going to be an Ask Me Anything series, where you listeners can ask any questions regarding Bitcoin, blockchain, beyond blockchain, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, DeFi, Metaverse. So let's get started with the Ask Me Anything series. Hey everyone, it's Josh on Blockchain DXP. You're listening to the Ask Me Anything series, where your listeners can ask any questions regarding Bitcoin, blockchain, beyond blockchain, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, DeFi, Metaverse. I have a question by Mina who asks, would you consider stablecoins a safer option in today's volatile crypto market, or do you see them as risky following recent collapse? Now the answer to this, Mina, is yes and no. Now look, me historically, I'm not a fan of stablecoins whatsoever, because according to me, they do not follow the ethos of open blockchain, isn't it? Now, what I'd really recommend you to do is, Meenal, and even for our listeners, go to YouTube and follow Andreas Antonopoulos, and he did actually put out a video explaining the pillars of open blockchain. Now, I don't want to go out and explain what the pillars of open blockchain are, because that will take at least 45 minutes to 1 hour. Now, look, according to me, stablecoin issuers are definitely not following the ethos of open blockchain. Rather, they are just replacing the role of a bank, and they do make a lot of centralized decisions, isn't it? So, keeping that thing in mind, I definitely am not a fan of stable coins, and that brings the risk element as well, because what if the US government does decide to go after Tether USDT, the entire stablecoin market would collapse, and the impact of that would be so much stronger than the Terra Luna and FTX collapse in my opinion. And look, Meenal, I do actually feel that while stablecoins are designed to offer stability, recent collapses like Luna's Terra USD did actually expose the potential risk, isn't it? And the collapse of algorithmically stable coins in particular has actually shown that the peg to the US dollar can break under pressure, leading to massive losses as well. Even asset-backed stable coins like Tether USDT have faced scrutiny over transparency and whether they truly hold sufficient reserves or not. Now look, regulatory uncertainty at this point of time is definitely unclear, and potential government crackdowns may also add to the risk, making stablecoins less safe than they appear. So they might seem to be stable on the surface, but the risk definitely exists, especially in times of market stress. But on a positive note, stablecoins can be considered as a safe option in today's volatile crypto market, and this is primarily due to their value being pegged to the stable assets like US dollar, reducing the extreme price fluctuations seen in other cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum, isn't it? And this, according to me, as well as many others, do actually make it really ideal, particularly for traders looking to hedge against volatility or transferring value without the risk of sudden price drops. Now look, I do feel that innovations like algorithmically backed stable coins, as well as asset-backed stable coins, do actually add further layers of security and decentralization to the ecosystem. And another thing is, for investors who are seeking stability in a fast-moving market, stablecoins remains a useful and relatively secure option, isn't it? So keeping all this thing in mind, it is definitely a mixture of both. But look, I wouldn't be surprised if the biggest black swan event in the cryptocurrency and blockchain world might just be Tether USDT, but I'm hoping that thing never happens. But definitely interesting question. And that's about all, guys, from the Ask Me Anything season Blockchain DXP. In case if you like listening to this podcast, please click on the follow button, give it a 5-star rating, and share the word across. Remember, Monday to Thursdays, 8 a.m. to 8:30 a.m., we have Crypto with Coffee podcast, where we cover top news and information pertaining to the price of cryptocurrencies, some major breaking news, occasionally short and sweet news as well, news that has an impact in the cryptocurrency world. The other two news and information is related to Dubai, UAE, and the Middle East, from the cryptocurrency, blockchain, and now artificial intelligence world as well. And what you're listening to right now is the Ask Me Anything series, where you listeners can ask any questions regarding Bitcoin, blockchain, beyond blockchain, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, DeFi, and Metaverse. So thanks so much for listening, guys, and have a nice one. Bye-bye.